Namaste. Many times it happens that you have a good software. The software is very good, but you don't know how to use it. You don't know how to make good use of it. The same is the case when it comes to Mercury. If your Mercury is good, then you should be able to use that Mercury for a good purpose. So who plays a role in using this Mercury for a good purpose? The answer you will find in this podcast. But before we begin, I want to share a beautiful story. There was a great king, and he wanted Bodhidharma to visit his court. He wanted to listen Bodhidharma reciting the Buddhist sutras. And that was his dream, that one day Bodhidharma will arrive and he will get to listen these sermons through Bodhidharma. And one day Bodhidharma arrives, and he arrives with his attendant, and the king is very happy. The king just is waiting for Bodhidharma to start reciting the Buddhist sutras, the Buddha sermons. But instead of Bodhidharma, his attendant starts reciting. And the king is very disappointed because he thought that Bodhidharma will speak, Bodhidharma will recite. He wanted to listen to his voice. But Bodhidharma sat quietly. He closed his eyes and he breathed in and breathed out. In deep meditation, Bodhidharma was sitting there and his attendant was reciting. And the king was constantly thinking that this is not right. I wanted Bodhidharma to recite, but I'm disappointed. So finally, when the attendant is finished with reciting the scriptures, the king goes to Bodhidharma. He bows before the master and says, "Master, I wanted to hear you. I wanted to listen to your words. I was expecting that you will recite." And Bodhidharma smiled and said, "You stupid, I was giving you the actual demonstration. Whatever is written in the sutras, I am demonstrating it before you." And the king realized his mistake. The king started crying. He said, "I am sorry. I couldn't realize this, that you are so compassionate, that you are actually demonstrating how to meditate, how to look within. And instead of looking at you, I was constantly thinking that why you are not reciting it and why your attendant is reciting it." So the essence of this story is that if you miss, then you miss. The king missed to understand, to relate with what Bodhidharma is demonstrating. He was constantly caught in his mind, and the mind was creating many doubts. All these disappointments and depressions and frustrations is of the mind. The mind is a monkey. The greatest prison or the hardest prison is the prison of mind. Once you come out of your mind, then nobody can disturb you and nobody can disappoint you. this podcast, I have shared certain details on Mercury, in which nakshatra Mercury will provide positive results. However, what is Mercury? Who drives Mercury? And many such things I have shared in this podcast. So let's begin. Yesterday Mohan asked, which nakshatra is the best for Mercury? Which nakshatra complements Mercury? The answer is simple. In fact, truth has always been simple. Mercury does well in the nakshatra of Venus, Rahu and Saturn. These are buddies of Mercury, and we all love our buddies. It is said, happiness is being with my buddies. And so Mercury is happy when he is with his buddies. That is, when he is with Venus, Rahu and Saturn. Mercury therefore does well in the following nakshatras. Mercury does well in Swati. Mercury does well in Shatabhisha nakshatra. Mercury does well in Aadhra nakshatra. Mercury does well in Purva Falguni nakshatra. Mercury does well in Bharani. Mercury does well in Purva Shadha. Mercury does well in Pushya nakshatra. Mercury does well in Uttara Bhadrapada. And Mercury does extremely well in Anuradha nakshatra. Mercury also does well in its own nakshatra. That is, Mercury does extremely well when it is placed in Ashlesha, Jaishta and Revati nakshatra. These all three nakshatras belong to Mercury. Pisces is not bad for Mercury, my fellows. One man, and he was the greatest scientist that the world had ever known. His name was Albert Einstein. And he had Mercury in Pisces sign. So you now tell me, one of the greatest genius is born with Pisces Mercury, and in India you see all screaming from their stomach that Mercury is debilitated in Pisces or Mercury is not good in Pisces. That is all fake. Truth is something else, and this sharing is only for my close followers. The rest can ignore and continue with their bookish lessons. Remember, real life is different from what you read in the books, my fellows. That is why a real man, a real woman learns her lessons not sitting in a cozy classroom, but right on the street. That is why a wise man once had said, I have learned more in the streets than in any classroom. Classroom students are complete turn off for me. I prefer those who are like the breeze, the wind, the storm, who don't limit themselves to the four walls of astrology, but fly beyond. And only those who have the courage to fly beyond can taste the true essence of astrology. The real master always says, shine like a star, dream like a child, fly like a bird. No rules, no limits. Mercury shows its colors and shades based on the nakshatra and signs. And so, when Mercury is placed in certain nakshatras, he will give certain results. I will now share certain results of Mercury when it is placed in the following nakshatras. So when Mercury is placed in Swati, the person is intellectual. And if there is a certain depth in the horoscope, then this intellectualism can also rise to the level of intelligence. Intellectualism is not intelligence. Intellectualism is of the head. Intelligence is when your head is in tune with your heart. When Mercury is placed in Shatabhisha nakshatra, the person is highly intellectual and sexual as well. Loves to have large network of friends. Generally is famous within his circle. This Mercury enjoys a certain authority. The person either attains a prominent place in society or is connected with an affluent person. A certain glamour is seen when Mercury is placed in Shatabhisha nakshatra. When Mercury is placed in Aadhra nakshatra, the person is excellent in communication, takes great interest in magic, in art, in board games, generally comes with emotional intelligence, highly diplomatic in conversations, generally never let others know what exactly is going on in his or her mind. When Mercury is in Purva Falguni nakshatra, then the person is good when it comes to drama, acting, intelligence, politics. This Mercury is a showman, loves to flaunt his new iPhone or a new Mercedes or anything that boosts his or her pride. Pride is the whole point. Whatever adds to his pride, he will definitely flaunt it. Show off is what they like. These fellows are not stingy or narrow-minded people. They like to live it large. In a way, if you have a friend having Mercury in Purva Falguni, then you are a lucky person, because such a person is a good friend. He may be the greatest show-off person in your building, but he will be also the only person who will come to help you, because he has a large heart. He roars like a lion, he eats like a lion, and he also shares like a lion. When Mercury is in Bharani nakshatra, then all those romantic couples, especially those romantic songs and love triangles and love relationships and she loves me not, all kind of this romanticism is found in native with Mercury in Bharani. They are a song, they are a dance, they are direct. If he loves you, he will just say it in a running bus. You are sitting next to him and he will propose you straight from the heart, I love you. And it will be so natural, so simple, so straight that for a minute you will not figure out until you say, what did you say? And the man of heart will smile and say it again, I love you. What is there to fear? When you love, you simply love. Whenever you love someone, you should express your love. If the response is yes, you are all good to go. And if the response is no, you can move on. That is how this Mercury is, straight and simple. When Mercury is in Purva Shadha nakshatra, then the person is well versed in scriptures. Scholarly, learned person is what you find with this Mercury placement. Generally, such a native is well cultured, aims high, and is always thinking by following the path of righteousness, the path of dharma. Such a person will find it difficult to kiss the love of his life in the public, because what will people say? So they are conservative, but at strange moments, unexpected moments, they suddenly do something that is exactly opposite to their nature. Such a man may hesitate to kiss his girlfriend in the public, but If he has to save a woman from drowning in the river, then he may go all the way to save her. He will pull her out of the river and suck the water out from her chest. When it comes to safeguarding dharma, he will not hesitate to do anything under the sky. Such a native loves to talk about mythology, scriptures, religion. They also like to debate on matters of religion. They are the protector of dharma. When Mercury is in Pushya Nakshatra, then the person is emotional by nature. They always think, but their thinking is highly influenced by their emotions. And so superstitions, beliefs, traditions, all of these play a vital role in their life, because most of their decisions are based on it. Innocence comes naturally to these fellows. A woman having Mercury in Cancer is indeed a sweet person. In fact, her lover falls for her innocence, but in practical life, the same innocence becomes a challenge for the husband. He always have to safeguard his wife because his wife is so innocent and the world isn't. Moodiness and constant changing temperament is a trademark of this placement. To sing a song, to dance, to make love, to enjoy the cool breeze, to watch the playful birds. The native just loves to do all of this. To him or to her, life is more like love and less like logic. Mercury in Anuradha Nakshatra is a very practical person. What is in it for me? No matter how much you explain these people, the primary question is always, what is in it for me? What am I going to get? This is a very practical placement of Mercury, where you cannot take this native for a ride. Salesperson will find it difficult to sell a product to this native, because this native remains focused on the basic question. Kitna deti hai? How much does it give back? A strong inclination towards occult, mystery, and passion for investigations, finding the true meaning, finding the truth is always observed in these natives. They talk very straight and at times it can hurt the other person. But that is how they are. Never taunt, because if you dare to taunt this native, then these natives will give you such a befitting reply that you will be taken aback. They are very sharp, straight, and practical people. Their motto is simple: if you remain straight with me, I will remain straight with you. Whenever Mercury forms conjunction with Saturn, Venus, or Rahu in these mentioned nakshatras, then the marriage works, meaning the conjunction brings certain positive results that help the native to boost his or her status in the society. What is Mercury? Mercury is a processor. But who operates this processor? Who is the real mover and shaker? The answer is in one word: Moon. Moon is mind. The mind commands, and the brain, that is the Mercury, the processor, follows the command. You will not indulge in actual sex until your mind is willing to. It is only when your mind says yes that your brain, that is Mercury, gets into action mode. And then the brain commands the sexual organ, and the organ moves ahead. The grass starts growing. That is how the act of sex happens, at the command of the mind. The mind, that is the moon, commands. The brain, that is Mercury, executes. And to execute a certain action, you need energy. This energy comes from Mars. And when it comes to sex, a lot of energy and stamina is required, which comes through Mars. And therefore, Mars plays a vital role in the actual act of sex. When mind, brain, energy is in harmony, then the act of sex happens without any problems. Then both the partners enjoy sex and attain sexual satisfaction. Sexual satisfaction is one of the significant part of human life, without which you cannot really progress in spiritual life. If you turn to spiritual life because you failed in your sexual relationship, because you remained sexually dissatisfied, then your spiritual life will also prove a failure. It is all interconnected. Unless you realize that sex has its own limitations, unless you realize that there is much more beyond sex, there is no coming to truth. There is no chance of you succeeding in your spiritual life. Never suppress sex. Instead, transform your sexual urge into spiritual urge. Remember, sex is a raw energy. It has to be transformed, and through transformation, there is transcendence. Rather than transforming it, religions have been repressing it. And if you repress it, the natural outcome is a perverted human being. He becomes obsessed with sex. Perversion happens when you are denied what you desire. Sex perverts are those fellows who have never experienced sex or have been denied sexual pleasures. If you observe closely, then those who have had enough of sex, they are never found to be sexual perverts. They have had enough. So perversion has no space in their life. It is non-existential. When Mercury is good, the brain is good, the processing power is good, the logical analysis is good, but there is a catch. What if the moon is bad? Because finally the master of Mercury is moon, your mind. And so, my fellows, this is a deep subject. The whole essence of the matter is that when moon is weak or moon is afflicted and Mercury is good, the moon will use this fast processor for wrong, malicious goals. That is how you see hackers, frauds, cheaters. They may have excellent sharp Mercury, sharp brain, but their mind, moon, is corrupt. And so a good Mercury is wasted, just wasted. And then there is a case where the moon is right, meaning the mind is good, but Mercury is wrong. Then you have these kind of people who always think opposite. For example, if I prepare a nice sweet dish and offer with love, then these people will think, there must be some agenda behind this act. You see, no matter how much straight you are with these men and women, they will always think the crooked way. And this word crooked now reminds me of Mercury retrograde period. Because retrograde Mercury is also a crooked Mercury. And so now when Mercury goes retrograde, it is retrograde as of now. Mercury will remain retrograde till 3rd June 2022. You all should remain cautious of crooked men and crooked women around you, for they can cause much trouble if you remain unaware. Mercury retrograde is a period when everything slows down. However, it is a wonderful period to revisit, to reconnect and recharge yourself. You can revisit old proposals regarding marriage or job or any business plan. You can reconnect with old buddies with whom you had lost the connection. You can use this retrograde period of Mercury to pause, introspect, and recharge yourself. Mercury retrograde period is a time when you avoid indulging in any new venture. Instead, clean up and rearrange the old setup. Renovate your office or renovate your house. Mercury retrograde is also a period when you can go through medical surgeries, because surgery is also a process of correcting your physical body. And retrograde Mercury period is all about doing corrections and reinventing yourself, so that when Mercury goes direct, you are all set to go for your goal. Remember, this human body has a mind, which is moon, brain, which is Mercury, and also a heart, the real king. This heart is ruled by the sun, and that is why you have the Leo sign, my fellows. Leo is the heart. And so the whole spiritual journey begins and progresses as you slowly start dropping your mind, because when mind is dropped, the brain no more has its master. That is, the brain has no more moon or mind as its master. Then the brain starts turning towards the heart. And when the heart becomes the master of your brain, then you find someone as beautiful as Mirabai, as beautiful as Buddha, someone as beautiful as Mahavira, as beautiful as Jesus. The enlightened beings operate in this human world, but without the mind. A Buddha is in a state of no mind. The whole problem is your mind. Once you enslave your mind, then the same mind can do wonders in your life. But to enslave the mind, one may take many births. Or, with the grace of the benevolent master, the benevolent guru, even one birth is enough. It is based on person to person. But what you all should remember is that reaching the destination is not as important as embarking on the journey itself. We all have to make a collective effort to bring the lost ones on the path again, on the Buddha path. I am making a small effort from my end. You may make a small effort from your end, and this is how the journey will continue. This is how this beautiful human life will flower, only if you are willing to. The beauty is in walking on the path. As you walk, the way appears. Keep walking. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.